What is the difference between amateurs and professional jiu-jitsu players? 1 second, I just want to apologise. I was going to put this up last week, but if you can see me head here, I broke it, like I had an allergic reaction to something and it was horrendous. It came all out of my hair. It was like all lumps in my head. All these little red dots came down side of my eyes. This was like super inflamed. And I'm going to be honest, I was extremely self-conscious. I looked at started recording myself and I'm just like, dude, you look absolutely horrible. You can't record anything. But then I was thinking about this video that I'm gonna make, and I'm like, actually, it's kind of relates into it a little bit. So just get onto it. It's the difference between amateurs and professionals. I know there's the obvious one. So like the obvious one, like an amateur or a hobbyist, you kind of living your life and you're starting at however old you are and you train maybe once, twice, 3 times a week, that kind of thing. You just do it for a bit of fun. Maybe you do the odd competition here, there at the lower belts, and it's a fun sort of a sport. It's basically like yoga or weightlifting or some sort of movement. Whereas a professional is like, they train since they were a kid and they do it for their job. They've got lots of sponsorships, they get paid for their competitions, they get win bonuses and that sort of thing. And that's like a typical way that we tend to look at hobbyists versus professionals. But really, I want to say the main difference that I can see, and I can see in the way that they train, is a lot of, and I was actually having this conversation the other day, and I can kind of see that people think, once they start to get a little bit better and that sort of stuff, it's like professionals basically get paid for their jiu-jitsu and hobbyists don't. That's just like another way of looking at it. But to me, they're sort of like, I don't know, some more like subjective kind of ways of looking at other kind of sports that have been around for longer, like, cricket and soccer and tennis and all that sort of stuff. Then it very much is kind of like that. But in the sport of jiu-jitsu, there's a nice little nuance there, especially because it's much newer. And the big difference that I can see between an amateur and a professional is amateurs are basically just kind of flailing in the dark with their training. They're basically like trying to get a sweep or trying to get a submission or, trying not to get tapped by a black belt or whatever the hell it is. Professionals are working on a specific thing for a specific reason. So they've either got a certain style of competition coming up, so they're wanting to train for that rule set, or they're trying to develop a new submission from an area that they get to a lot of the time, so they're working on that. They're trying to get themselves back into that position. They're always like working on something that's progressing them towards their next goal. That is a very professional way of doing it. And that's why professionals can train, every day or 2 times a day or 2 times a day, like, 8, 10 sessions a week, as well as mobility, as well as other sorts of things, because sometimes they're having their hard training sessions, sometimes they're having the easy sessions. They're drilling with intent, they're positional sparring from different things. They're always looking for an outcome and a goal. And you might go, well, Shane, mate, I've only got, 1 session a week that I can train. So I just come in there. I just want to see how, I've been training for 5 years now. I just want to tap as many people as I can. If I could tap you, that's even better. You know what I'm saying? And that is cool. That is what is great for those initial getting started. And it's really fun with your mates and that sort of thing at times. But you don't always have your favorite training partners. You can't always structure, your favorite training session doesn't always happen. And if that's the case, and you're just coming in on, say, Monday, and nobody there is there that you normally train with, you've got some people that are way different size to you, and you've got some people that are really new. If you just come into that training session and you're like, okay, you sort of limber up a little bit, and the coach starts showing you a few moves, you don't really get your head around them. And then you have some rolls and it kind of feels like they're either way too easy for you or they're way too hard. And so, you get this kind of real mishmash of your rolls. And then that was your one training session for the week. Then that week's kind of, did you get much out of your training? Was it sort of pointless, or, what was the go? Whereas if you compare that to a professional, and maybe a professional, and this is where I want to, this is where I'm kind of getting up myself for not doing the video regardless of how I looked and how I felt, is a professional shows up and does the job no matter what. Obviously, if you've got staph, you don't go in. Or if you've got some other viral thing that you could spread, well, you know, you're doing a sport with other people, so don't go spreading that around. But otherwise, okay, you feel a little bit sore, or maybe you injured your hand or something like that. So you're like, oh, well, I've got to wait until my hand gets better before I go back in. Or you've got to wait till you feel good. Or I've got to wait till this clears up before I can do the video. A professional is like, hang on, I need to work on, say, my leg locks, or I'm working on my passing, or whatever it is that I'm working on, and I'm getting ready for this competition. Injuries are part of the game. Feeling sore from the day before is part of the game. You can always train around those injuries. You can back your training off. You can experiment with other things, but you still go in and you still do your session. Or like in this case, I should have still recorded the video regardless of how I looked and regardless of how I felt, and kept with that. I'm gradually progressing, and I've, you know, in this situation, I've said I'll do one video a week. So I do that video a week, regardless of whether I'm happy with it, or regardless of, maybe I feel like, oh, I look terrible, or whatever it is. You still do the work, you still put in the effort, and you'll still start to achieve the outcomes that you want. Because if you're wanting to, you know, get ready for a competition, or you're wanting to progress so that you can, you know, submit like your mate that's been training for a bit longer than you, or you're looking for that anti-bully thing, whatever it is, you're wanting to progress. And a big part of, you know, looking towards achieving those goals and what'll actually make it fun is narrowing down and getting those little parts of the game and working on those. And if you compare that, if you put that attitude of being able to train, if you say the words again, if you put that professional element into your training session, even though you've only got the one that week, if you're like, okay, I've only got my one session this week, and you come in and it's a mix mash, the coach, you know, isn't teaching a position or a move that actually works in with your game at the time, and you don't have training partners in there, it's pretty unlikely that those two things are true, but let's say they are. Rather than that session being a waste, you can be like, wow, what I was really wanting to work on was my front headlock system. So you can kind of say, hey, can you just turn it up for me? And I can, you know, you can start working. I just want to get these grips, and now can you go? And you can just make your training, you know, make the drilling portion of the class, working with those, ask your training partner for some feedback, and you can have some roles, you can force those positions, and you can actually still get out of a class work towards the goal that you were after, which is going to ultimately achieve the goal, or, you know, progress you closer to the goal that you were trying to achieve. And that is still giving you a professional approach to your training, even though you're just an amateur. I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying even though you're training as an amateur, you can still take a very professional approach to your training. And then maybe if you can do, you know, 3 jiu-jitsu sessions a week, and you have like another bit of free time at home for your own like mobility and strength training, that sort of thing, you can funnel it all in so that every little thing stacks up and gives you more options to win in the future. Well, I'm not going to keep on rambling on, but I think you get the points there. But anyway, guys, here you go. Have another nice look at my itchiness factor. Actually, looking at it now, actually not too bad. So really, I'm probably just whinging. Give you guys a break, but I'll try and do another one this week anyway. Drop a comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.